Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I have with me Israel Duran, and let me tell you about Israel. He is a sought-after business growth partner, speaker, and trainer who empowers purpose-driven leaders and corporate organizations to build profitable, impactful ventures grounded in servant leadership. With expertise in business, finance, and the art of meaningful communication, Israel has inspired thousands of entrepreneurs and corporate teams worldwide. His mission is to help leaders leverage their skills and knowledge to create sustainable businesses that drive positive change while staying true to their core values. Using his three-step proven framework, Israel accelerates business growth by aligning each client's purpose with actionable strategies for success. Known for unlocking potential and bringing clarity to ambitious visions, he teaches leaders how to design and deliver solutions that resonate. Through his guidance, corporate teams and individual clients alike are positioned to profit and profit with purpose. The theme that we're going to talk about today, this is all about finding your leadership confidence. So we're going to talk about the master key to leadership and business growth. So please join me in welcoming my guest, Israel Duran. Israel, I know this is going to be a great conversation today.
Yes, Vicki, it's a pleasure to be on here with you, and I can sense as well it's going to be awesome.
So we always have two easy questions. I told you where I live. Now I would like to know, tell the audience, where do you live? Where do you call home?
I currently reside in Connecticut, and currently I call it the cold Connecticut because it just snowed yesterday. And I was born and raised here in Connecticut. Transitioned a little bit during university time in New Jersey, but we're back here for now, but that may change in the future.
Yeah. Spent some time in Connecticut and Jersey. I worked and retired from UPS, and so
Nice.
they had headquarters in Greenwich originally, and then they moved to Georgia, which is how I got involved with them. So I gave all these accolades about what you do today and this very impressive background, but I love for you to share the journey that you had. We know that it wasn't overnight that this all happened, and it's helpful to have the audience understand the different pivots and paths that took you on this journey, and really the moment that you said, my calling is to do this now.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the question because it's so relevant to the times I think we're living in at hand now.
Yeah.
For me, Vicky, it all started really as a child. And I have this mantra that I always teach on. It's pretty simple. It says, what you don't have as a child, you typically value as an adult. And my father, who I never really built a relationship with because of what I'm going to share in the following. My father, back in 1993, he was having a bunch of what we call chest pains and arm pains shooting up his left side.
Not good.
And my mother is the doctor in Dominican Republic. She wasn't able to transfer the license because of the English barrier. But my mom told my dad, hey, you need to go to the ER and get yourself checked out. So my dad listened. He went to the ER and he patiently waited there for about 3.5 hours. Unfortunately, they didn't attend him because there were other emergencies, more like graphical emergencies, like physical things that the doctors were attending to. So my dad went back home and he had what unfortunately the medical community call a STEMI.
Mm.
And, we call it a massive heart attack, right?
Yeah.
And my dad died alone. And I can only imagine what he was thinking when he took his last breath. My mom essentially found him. It's a very traumatic experience for my mom. She doesn't talk about it
Yeah.
much. I don't bring it up much because, I just don't want to bring up those bad memories. However, Israel David Duran, I was only about 3 months when my dad passed. So
Oh,
growing up, I had a
wow.
void. I had a void, and I had several voids, and I tried to seek to fill those voids in all the wrong places, Vicky. And there
Mm.
were four specific things that I really desired as a child, and those four things were number one, identity. See,
Mm.
I wanted my father to look me in my eyes and tell me who I was, and I think that's so relevant today because
Yeah.
so much identity crisis, especially in leadership, right?
Yeah.
And then number two, I wanted purpose. I wanted a sense of like understanding of why I'm here. What am I supposed to do? And number three, I wanted my vision. And I always
Yeah.
tell people this: you get your voice from your vision,
Yeah.
you get your vision from identifying the voids in the marketplace. And then number four, I wanted a custom plan. I wanted for my dad to tell me, this is how you're going to do it. And I didn't have those four things. So now in my business, in my service, in all the work that I do, I make it a priority and part of my purpose to make sure I instill and impart those four attributes and gifts to the people I work with and serve and speak to.
Yeah. Awesome. So your TED Talk is the same as our title, as I mentioned before we got started, The Master Key to Leadership and Business Growth. Can you share what inspired you to develop this talk, the concept, and how it resonates with your audience?
Yeah, for me, Vicky, I wish I could say, hey, I was some brave person and, I just did it all on my own. But in reality, it didn't happen that way. I was actually afraid. I was afraid, like, is this something I'm really called to do? Because one of
Mm.
the other experiences I had as a child was that I drowned in a pool in Dominican Republic in a
Oh,
place called
no.
Monte Cristi. Yeah, I talk about it during my TEDx talk as well. And I don't think my mom would have been able to handle another trauma. So I'm super thankful to God for actually giving me another opportunity. And I remember I was in the water, Vicky, and literally, because my sister had lost one of her earrings in the pool, so I jumped in trying to get it like Superman. Didn't know how to swim at the time, and I was, and I was here. I am drowning, and as I'm drowning, I could just hear my sister screaming and crying. Someone save my brother! Someone save my brother! And all of a sudden, I'm not there anymore. All of a sudden, my soul's outside of my body, and I'm traveling very fast to what I knew was going to be the throne room of God. I
Mm.
didn't know any concept of God. Didn't know anything about religion, the Bible. Didn't know nothing about nothing. I was just a 7-year-old young boy that liked to play with at the time, these cards and stuff and games. But I knew that when I was dying, I was about to meet God. And what's funny is I felt a sense of peace. I felt a
Mm.
sense of joy. I felt protected. I felt embraced. I felt
Wow.
warmth, love at the highest level. I felt compassion. I mean, I felt the best I was feeling when I was dying, which is weird.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Vicky, I'm back into my body. A man had jumped into the water. He pulls me out, and I try to turn around after gasping for air, and coughing, trying to gasp for air. And then when I turned around to see who it was, there was no one to be found. This man that jumped in, no one knew who he was in the area. No one even knows anybody that looked like this man. My sister saw him. She saw his. She describes him with like black hair, white, blue eyes. That's what my sister describes him. I didn't see him. And like I was left stumped. I was left like, who is like I gotta find somebody to say thank you to because I knew that as a child, like if
Yeah.
somebody saves your life, you gotta at least say thank you. So I couldn't find the guy. So who did I think? I
God.
remember thanking God. And I remember from that
Yeah.
moment where I felt like I had a special connection to God. And I felt that I would speak as weird as this and sounds, and God would hear me. And then I would feel like God would speak to me and then I would hear him kind of thing.
Not weird.
And, and it was weird. But I was so grateful because I knew I was alive for a purpose. I didn't know for what that
That's right.
reason was. But then later on in life, to answer your question, I was still stuck. I was still afraid. I knew God had given me a second opportunity, but I was still like, is this something God is really calling me to do? Like, is this really what he's calling me? And then I had a car accident experience back in 2018. And now in this car accident, I should have been dead, dead. Like, like when someone says dead, dead, that's what should have happened to me. I walked out of the car with the scratch over here on my arm and over here. Like it was crazy. And I came out of that car accident, Vicky, and I'm gonna be honest with you, like I will always be. I was a little bit afraid, but I was a little bit confused how I wasn't injured
How
or
you
like
live.
dead.
Right.
I believe that God, and this is what I talk about during the TEDx, that I was given like a message, like, hey, it's time to release what it is inside of you now. And within 3 days from that car accident, Vicky, I started my third business, which is what I'm primarily doing now. And I launched my first book in 2 languages within 3 weeks, one in Spanish and one
Wow.
in English. This book was supposed to be released a year and a half later, but God was calling me to release it sooner. And I say that because the people that I attract, the people that I work with, they are on earth because of a purpose, and that purpose is connected to people. And when they step into their purpose and they use their gifts and use their voice to speak and serve as a speaker, it's the name of our brand, Service of Speaking, they actually become an answered prayer to the people that have been looking for them.
Yeah.
And this is what we're all about. And this is what my heart is filled with, that I have the opportunity to help others like you help others get out of their own way so they can
Yeah.
also make an impact. It's the best job in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People wonder, aren't you retired? Why are you doing this? And it's like, because this is what I love. This is what I love. Helping others. Can't, nothing better. You emphasize servant leadership in your story. And I just want to say, I always tell people when they tell me stories like that, that God had a purpose for you and you need to do something about it. And I'm so happy that you did.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So your servant leadership is the cornerstone of building impactful ventures. We know that, and you emphasize it all the time. What are some key characteristics that really to be a servant leader
Mhm.
and and there are people out there and say like, I don't know how, I don't know what to do. So how can they cultivate that?
I love that you asked the question, how can they cultivate that? Because I love the book that you have behind you too as well, Game Changer. And the way I want to answer the question is by giving people 3 C's that can
Mm-hmm.
help them to cultivate it, but also bring that positive change in their life. And this is the same thing that's helped me as well. And like as a leader, growing as a leader and speaking and making an impact is number one, charity, the word charity.
Yeah.
Now, I love the word charity because the thing about charity is when we look at a nonprofit or when we look at charitable giving, what does it imply? It implies that you're doing it to your fellow man or in direct impact to your fellow man. So I love that because that's what it's all about. So like
Yeah.
when we get filled with charity, charity also has. So let me explain this for maybe those who don't know the definition of charity. Charity has what I call the supernatural elements.
Mm.
And charity is like a fountain. Charity is like a well. Some descriptions talk about charity beareth all things, or that it can believe all things, that it can
Mm.
hope all things, that it can endure all things. And as a leader, we need to be filled with charity because
Yeah.
as a leader, we're going to have to bear some things. Sometimes there's people we butt heads
Yeah.
with, but we have to give them grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a leader, we need to believe and persevere. Even when everything around us is looking like it's not working well, we need to be the
Yeah.
last ones to believe. They say that the last one off the ship is the captain. Why? Because the captain is the leader. And he has to
Mm-hmm.
believe that that ship, no matter even if it's sinking, he's going to be the last one off because he has to protect everybody else. And then hopeth all things. Hope is a powerful thing. And we can pull hope from charity. And then enduring hardness, enduring the cost to pay of leadership. There's a price to pay to be a leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being able to have that is huge. So that's why I start with charity. But once you identify charity, you fill yourself with charity, then comes compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And I love compassion because truly compassion precedes every known miracle to man.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the greatest miracles I've seen in my life, and when I say a miracle, I'm talking about like supernatural, grace, abundance, like, victory in a certain area, whether that be in business, personal life, relationships, you name it. or health, like I have when I saw after compassion and been moved by compassion, I've seen some of the greatest things. So that's
Mm.
why I also tell like say, hey, compassion is one of those key C's. And then the last C is the word that many times when people hear this, Vicky, they make the deadly mistake, I would say, to assume that they already know what it is, and then they bypass it and they miss the gem and the gift and the greatness of what this last C holds. And that's the word consistency.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books on leadership is right here.
The tortoise and the hare. Yeah.
Tortoise in the
Yeah.
Hare. This is a children's book, but there's so
Mhm.
much wisdom in here
Yeah.
that if we take it in 21st century leadership, like what you talk about, your
Hmm.
heart, your head, and your hands, it's what you're specialized with. This is what it's all about, you
Yeah.
know? And consistency is king, and consistency is key.
Yeah.
So those are the three
Yeah.
C's that I would recommend.
Wow. So you have a three-step framework to align purpose with actionable strategies. I'm sure that the three C's are in there, but can you walk us through the framework so that we can understand it better? Maybe share an example of how it's transformed a business?
Oh, 100%. I could give you a few examples. So our framework is designed or founded with these three D's: discover, design, and deliver. You know, the master key to leadership and business growth is actually serving our gift to the world, right? I talk about it
Right.
during my TEDx. There's a great verse that I love. It's Proverbs 18:16. It talks about a man's gift will make room for him, right?
Mm.
But sometimes people get stuck, Vicky, and they're like a lot of the people that I work with, they may not know what their gift is, and they need clarity on like how to do that, right? Like or how to get clarity on what their gift is. So I have a process. I have 4 questions that I go over that help people to identify their purpose because I always tell people this: your purpose always precedes what your gift is. And identity always precedes your purpose. In other words, identity is the highest mountain in this world. Like everything flows from identity. So first, people once they know who they are, then they get clarity in their purpose. And purpose is one of those things, Vicky, that as you know, that changes over time and changes in different seasons,
It does. It
right?
does.
You know, a lot of people, a lot of leaders that I work with, they deal with transition and they get discouraged because they've been doing something for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and now God's transitioning them to another place. And they sometimes feel, to be honest and to be direct, sometimes they feel depressed,
Yeah.
you know, and they go through that season of depression and of abandonment. But that season is important because before there's a transition, we need to be able to put off the old to put on the new.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do have 4 questions that we can go over to help people get a little bit more clarity in their purpose and kind of give them some
Hmm.
things to think about.
Sounds
And
good.
some of the outcomes that can happen, you ask like, hey, practically how this has helped others. I mean, I have had leaders and business owners go through these 4 questions and they've been able to get complete clarity with what to do next in their business. It's given them direction. I've had people that have launched books after going through these 4 questions, have launched keynotes, have launched speaking platforms. I've had people that have sold other businesses to focus on their passion projects. So a lot can happen with these 4. So I just want to warn the audience. But the 4 start with, what do you love to do?
Yeah.
That's the first question. What do you love to do? And what you love,
Mm.
Vicky, reveals a gift that you have. So a lot of the people are like, well, I don't know what my gift is. Well, what do you love to do? Start there. And where do I
Mm.
get that from? Well, I'm a big student of history and I love studying old books. And one of my best favorite books is the Bible. And there's a great scripture in the Bible, John 3:16, that says, for God so loved the world that he
Yeah.
gave. So typically what people love is actually the gift in part of what they're supposed to release or give to the world. The
Mm.
second question is, what make what do you hate? What makes you angry, you know?
Uh,
And that's something that a lot of people don't like to answer because they're like, that's a
yeah.
strong word. But here's the thing. We need to understand the law of polarization because when you go to 2 extremes, like if you go to one extreme where you get really, really hot, it actually will get cold right? Like if you go extremely hot, it will actually get cold. And if you go extremely cold, you'll get to a point where you actually get burnt. This is the
Mm.
law of polarization, and then both meet in the middle, right? That's just how God created what he created. But there's so much wisdom with that when we press into what we love and what we hate,
Yeah.
because then now we're able to find the balance in between of really what is the purpose, what is the vision, what is the thing that I'm supposed to go after in the season. So the thing that you hate reveals a solution that you were born to bring to that thing that you hate. It was
Ah,
it's something that Vicky, not only a solution that you were born to bring to the problem, but it's actually reveals something that you were born to eradicate off the face of this earth.
very
And where
cool.
do I get this from? There's another one of my other favorite scriptures, 1 John 3:8. It says, "For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil." Talking
Mm.
about how Jesus Christ of Nazareth destroyed sin on the cross. But that's why he was manifested in part. It was to destroy something. So
Yeah.
many times when God sends us into this earth, it's for a purpose to establish things on earth, but also to eradicate certain things that are not healthy for humanity.
Mm.
Would you like for me to go to number three?
Yeah, please.
Number three, a lot of times when I teach this and men listen to me on this one, they sometimes men fight me because number three on because men don't like this. Most men don't like to do. I like this because it's something that I think makes us human. It makes us vulnerable. Number three is what makes you cry.
Yeah,
And
I think
true leaders cry
that's right. That's right.
because when you have charity, when you have compassion, when you have consistency, you will have a heart, you will have a sense of compassion towards others, a sense of understanding, a sense of sincerity, and you will feel what people feel.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know how there's leaders out there that don't have any emotion. That's just really sad.
Yeah.
Because how are you going to truly lead an organization or your company or whoever and get them to move with the vision if you don't know how to create emotion when you communicate?
Yeah. That's
The
why
word
I
emo-
say lead with the heart. Have to
yes.
have it.
Talk to me about that. That's talk to me.
You know, those of us that were leaders in the 70s, 80s, 90s, we were taught, whoever has the biggest hammer that screams the loudest, that pushes the hardest is the leader. But what I found is that I could get people to move mountains by just building relationships and
Mm,
listening to them and understanding, listening to understand, not to speak over or be the smartest person in the room. And that's what you need. You need that empathy and emotional intelligence to really make a difference.
yes. Yes, that's beautiful. The empathy and emotional understanding, that's huge.
Yeah.
If every single industry and sector of this world would understand that, the world would be a better place. That's for sure.
Mm, yeah, definitely. So go on. I
What makes
had,
you cry
yeah,
reveals a situation that we were born to turn those tears of pain into tears of joy.
yeah, for sure.
One of the things that makes me cry is seeing orphans and widows in pain and affliction. Why?
Mm,
Because that's what I had to endure
yeah,
and to see my mom endure as well. So, one of the things that I do in my business, my wife and I, we donate to causes that make us cry so we can bring joy to those causes.
yeah,
And that's what I teach people when you read the Bible about profiting with a purpose. It's not just about profiting. It's about what are you gonna do with that profit? You gonna what's the vision? Like how are you gonna make the
hmm,
world a better place? So that's how I tie that in with question number three. And question number four is, and let me just go real quick to number three. Jesus wept is one of the shortest verses in the Bible, by the way. 2 words. Jesus wept. So profound, by the way.
Yes, so
There's two
moving.
occasions where he wept, where we can see in my study of scripture, he wept over Jerusalem. He said, "How
Mhm.
long have I longed to you to gather you like a hen does his, their babies, right? And you would not listen." And he wept. And then he wept when his friend Lazarus died. And then
Mhm.
he restored joy to Lazarus' family by resurrecting him from the dead. So
Mhm.
that's where I get that clarity there with those four questions. And then this fourth one is, what or who annoys you? One of my favorites, because we have been taught that we need to avoid the things that annoy us. That is not true leadership. True leaders
Yeah.
face the things that annoy them. They sit down, they
Mhm.
talk, they confront them with love. And it's not healthy to gossip or to bitter. That's one of the biggest things that destroys an organization. Timothy's talking to John, and then Maria's over. That stuff, bring it to the light. Communicate, talk
Mhm.
about it, seek that reconciliation, seek that forgiveness, because a kingdom or a company or a business or a nonprofit divided against itself shall not stand.
Yeah. No. No, it can't.
You know? So these four, the attributes, so what and who annoys you, reveals the attributes that we are actually called to serve and wash away. I'll use an example. Jesus of Nazareth, he was in the night that he was going to be murdered. He essentially had a last supper with his followers, with his 12 disciples. One of them was one of the ones that betrayed him, named Judas. And he actually sat them all down and said, "I'm going to wash your feet." And everybody was like, okay. But Peter said, "You're not going to wash my feet." Absolutely not. That's what Peter said.
Doors.
And Jesus' response is something that is so profound. He says, "Peter, if you don't let me wash your feet, you will have no part in me." Now, that word part is an interesting word in the Greek, in the Hebrew. It's the word that's connected to impartation. In other words, Jesus was saying to Peter, "I want to become one with you, but you got to let me wash your feet." Peter understood the message. He understood what Jesus was saying to him. And then he said, "Lord, wash my feet, my hands, and my head,"
Mhm.
which is what you teach all about.
That's right. That's right.
So, what's amazing about this is that the thing that annoyed Jesus, or he still annoys him the most, is the number one thing that made Lucifer fall, and that was pride.
Yeah.
Pride is the thing that will get into our way of our purpose and leadership and maximizing our potential. And Jesus wanted to wash away the pride from Peter by allowing him to sit down as a leader to have his feet washed. One of the true tests to see if you're a true leader is, are you willing to sit down and have somebody else wash your feet with their words?
Mm.
I believe that Peter was able to then transition from that moment, and sometime later during what we call the day of Pentecost, he was able to give a discourse to over 3,000 people who were impacted by the gospel of Christ. And I believe that he wouldn't have been able to do that if he didn't allow his feet to get washed. And this is one of the secrets I teach the people I work with, Vicki, that through the service of speaking, right? Because I believe the highest level of service is actually speaking.
Mhm.
And Jesus said, if you want to be the greatest, going to be the servant of all. But I believe that our potential is only limited to the level in which we
Mm.
allow ourselves to receive. Because we as
Yeah.
leaders, we're really quick to give. We're the ones that are always giving. But how are we being fed? How are we receiving? And I hope that this segment of what we're talking about, people are actually being fed.
Yeah. For sure. And I think, that's another important point of being a great leader is that you talk less than you listen, that you have to just listen to the people and what's around you and be able to react not just from emotion, but from intelligence and what's the right thing to do. So, so many good things.
And emotional intelligence is one of those things that first you have to go inside yourself and address yourself to then be able to
Self-awareness.
address others and have that awareness. If you don't
Yeah.
have that, you're going to avoid. You're going to be like the person that is going around in circles and just getting busy and gets distracting from doing the hard work. And that can only get you so far. Just take it from my personal experience, not putting anybody down that's listening to this. Just I've learned through my failures and my mistakes what I'm teaching you. Like what I'm sharing, what
Mm-hmm.
I've shared, what we've shared here on Vicky. This wasn't something I learned in a YouTube video or Google. This is stuff that I learned through life, through blood, sweat,
Mm-hmm.
and tears, through failure, through
Mm-hmm.
a lot of tears, through me on my, you know what I mean? Through
Mm-hmm.
paying a price.
Yep. Best lessons ever learned from
Yes.
failures. You worked with entrepreneurs and corporate teams worldwide, and what are some of the common challenges that leaders face when they're trying to align their purpose with the profitability?
Hmm.
And how can they overcome that?
That's a good question. I mean, it depends on a few things, right? If I was sitting down with, let's say, a corporate CEO or a business owner or a leader that's over a department, the first thing that I would want to understand is what is the culture that you've created
Yeah.
and understanding the environment that you're in, like what's the location? And then I would work backwards. So one of the things I love to do is starting the end from the beginning.
Yeah.
One of the things that God does is that He finishes something, then He begins. And I think if we take that approach, we would avoid a lot of mistakes of just trying to guess, right? Like having the end in mind, as they say. But that's what I would do. It really depends. It's not like a cookie cutter answer because of a couple different reasons. A custom suit will always fit better than one off the rack. And the questions that I ask leaders and business owners pertaining to what you just asked give me clarity on what their measurements are so then I could
Mm-hmm.
properly recommend something that's going to fit them perfectly. Now, I can share a couple principles that will apply to everyone, but depending on who you are, they may differ. The number one principle is true profit is not just in a bottom line number. True profit is about accomplishing the vision that ultimately will unlock the prosperity because again there's a great another principle without vision people perish, but the opposite is also true. With vision people prosper. So it's kind of like this book again. You know what I mean? Like I just love this book. So many different analogies. Like instead of trying to focus on like what's the quick thing, what's the quick, it's more of like where are we going, what's the vision,
Slow and
you know?
steady.
Yeah, slow and steady. Consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency always wins. It always
Yeah.
wins in every area of life, in investing, in relationships, in health. Like it always wins. And it's important to take a step back sometimes and say, okay, what is the mindset that I need to possess to create the behaviors that I need to have
Mhm.
to then have the
Yeah.
outcome that I desire?
Yeah. And, it can't all be about the bottom line number and the profit. Yes, you should have profit, but if you truly are serving your community, you have to give back. And so that's some of those dollars and cents have to go to those in need. And I think
Yeah,
that's
and
what,
the beautiful thing about that, Vicky, is I like to encourage people to say you can give back, and it's more so of paying it forward.
Mhm.
Because there's some people that, I've talked to some people that feel guilty. They're like, well, I want to pay, but, give back. And I'm like, well, wait a second. You don't necessarily owe anybody anything, but paying it forward
Yeah.
is a better frame because now it's not like they're not pressured to try to. And I've seen it a lot in leaders where leaders, I mean, I know this is a tough topic, but there's some leaders that go through depression, very high depression,
Mhm.
and form of like when I say they try to take their own life, and mental health is something very important. And what I've seen it myself where people have that pressure upon themselves where they have to perform or and it creates it creates like a chain reaction, you know,
Yeah.
and I've seen it happen, and I'm aware of the fact, the grace. Like this is not like, this is why I tell people, like, I don't work any day of my life. You know, for me, I love what I do. Like I love this. Like again, I
Yeah.
get on here to talk about leadership and talk about business and speaking and this is like, I'll do this all day. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, and that's that light that we started with. That's the light that we need to keep with. And sometimes those pressures, those outside pressures can kind of squeeze out that first love that can lead people down a spiral of a lot of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever you talk about servant leadership, and I know we're kind of running out of time here, but and and paying forward too, one of the best things that I've always found, because when I started out, like my dad worked 3 jobs to support 7 kids, and but he always volunteered. And so when that mindset really stayed with me, and so I ultimately went to work for UPS because every time the other company that I was volunteering at, or working at and doing volunteering, every time I went to everything here in Georgia, UPS was there. And so
Wow.
I thought, when got to interview with him, I thought, well, I want to work with you. I don't really know anything more about you that needs to influence my decision. It's because of the time that you allow for your people to go out and help the communities. And I think that's really important that, yes, and we were able to go during work hours to volunteer. And it's, I think sometimes people lose sight of that it doesn't have to be a paycheck from your company or a big donations. It's the sweat equity, the hours, and the difference that it makes in people, especially some of the managers that you have that aren't yet leaders. Being in that environment brings on leadership skills that you don't teach in a classroom.
Yeah. Life is the biggest teacher of leadership.
Yeah.
And what you said is so awesome. That's pretty, and that memory of your father is a legacy that he left. You know,
Mm.
it influenced your decisions. It's opened doors for you that are incredible. And it's the same thing when you, those of you listening, you as a leader, do the same thing to create a
Mhm.
culture of compassion, a culture of charity, of consistency. And what happens when you do that is that you breathe a breath to what we call peace or shalom.
Mhm.
And you create an
Mhm.
environment of peace. And that's the biggest like that's the best environment to thrive in, you know, as an environment of peace.
Yeah. And that's when you end up with business growth. Just organically, it happens.
Yes.
All right. Well, we could probably talk and talk and talk, but it is time now for me to share my slide that has your contact information. For those of you out there listening saying, oh my God, I need to have Israel come and talk to us, or I need to just do some course or something with him. I need to just communicate with him. Well, here's how you can do it. Let me share my slide. If you're listening, you should have been taking notes the entire time. Quickly go grab a paper and pencil, or you can go to my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling, and get all of the information from watching the video, as well as go to my findyourleadershipconfidence.com and you'll find it in the show notes. So the website is his name, easy can be, Israel Duran. That's IsraelDuran, IsraelDuran.com. Facebook is Israel Duran and a bunch of numbers. Just search for his name, you will find him. Instagram is Israel Duran Associates. And LinkedIn is Israel Duran. So again, he made it easy for you. You should then send him thank you notes on social media to be able to easily find him by searching his name. I'm going to turn it over to Israel. He's going to talk to you about his call to action, things you can find on that website that might help you, resources, links, as well as where he is for the most part on social media, where he spends the most time, and what he puts out there, how often he puts it out. Go ahead.
Yes, I appreciate you listening in, and I have had a blast here with you, Vicki. On my website, israelduran.com, you can find some free resources. We also do, if you wanted to learn more about what we're talking about and go deeper, we run a monthly challenge called the Service of Speaking Challenge that you'll be able to find out the information for that on our website. There's a direct link where we go deeper with some of the concepts, principles that we've talked about. And I post content on a weekly basis. You can follow me on YouTube primarily and Instagram. And I would be looking forward to following up with you guys and having a conversation.
Awesome. Well, Israel, I knew I would, and I really enjoyed this conversation we had today. The master key to leadership and business growth. You did an awesome job at sharing so many great insights and thought-provoking key points, I think is what I would call it. So thanks for being such a great guest.
Thank you for having me, Vicki.
As always, I remind everyone that life is a journey, and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling, signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.